right. Well,
Okay.
Simon's story, I absolutely loved. And it was this close to being the first story in the book, but it had such a wonderful closure feel to it that I thought it was perfect as the final story in the book. So since he ends up being the last one so much as a result, I mean, it's a place of honor, but because of that, how about you start us off this time, Simon?
Okay, I'll do that. Um, so just a heads up, I haven't actually practiced this, so it's going to be pretty raw. Um, so I'm just going to read the opening bit since my favorite. It was my favorite part of the story to write. So, well, there's definitely water here, Michael observed, wiping a thick coating of snow from his helmet's visor for the 10th time in as many minutes. Chances of life seem pretty slim, though. He trudged over the white hilltop at an awkward pace, the boots of his thermal suit cracking through the upper crust and plunging him in down to his knees. Harsh winds whipped against him and rattled his helmet as they blanketed him with a fresh spray of snow. It took some effort to move against the elements like this, and he didn't dare stumble. A fall could leave him buried in moments. The locals are probably scared of your ugly ass, Abby Carter suggested in his ear. She was back in the cozy confines of the lander, having lost, or won, the coin flip to decide which of them would go out to explore the planet's surface. But with the communicator, it was like she was at his side, constantly prodding at him. Again with my ass, Michael replied, glancing over his suit vitals to check that nothing was in danger of freezing off. The thermal suit kept him alive, but not exactly warm. You know, for something you hold in such contempt, you sure do talk about it a bunch. I do not. It was hard to tell whether Carter was offended or amused. He peered down the icy slope, the pure white snow curving into a large valley below. The sunlight was choked behind a thick screen of clouds, but there was still enough light for Michael to appreciate the breathtaking view. The wind-swept hills all around, the towering glaciers in the distance. Beautiful, but barren by all appearances. You do, though, he continued, carefully descending a short way down the slope. I swear you bring it up at least 3 times a day. If I didn't know you, I'd almost think you wanted it. No one wants any part of you, Adams, Carter replied acidly. He grinned to himself. Carter's barbs had lost their sting a while ago. I feel like I've stepped back in time, like I might run into a woolly mammoth at any moment. Big, hairy, and dumb. You'd fit in perfectly. Keep the burns coming, Abby. They keep me warmer than these thermals ever could. His next step was met with less resistance than before, and he only just caught himself from slipping and tumbling down the hill. That probably would have been a death sentence, as once he went down, climbing back up would become an ordeal. Abby, unless this place thaws into a tropical paradise in the summer, I think we can safely file under uninhabitable. Trying to settle here would be suicide. Figured as much, Carter grumbled. Guess we'll stick with the plan of slogging on to Chiral. Why'd I even bother coming down here? Michael turned back carefully and began to climb up the hill. Oh, come on. I know we're both happy to be off the St. Brendan for a couple of days. Yeah, but I'm still stuck with you, Carter replied wryly. I'm sure there are worse fates, probably. And I'm just going to stop there.
Thank you. I love the interaction between those two. Stephen, would you like to give us a taste of Tinker's Toxin?
Okay. Yeah, but you won't survive it. Okay. Just quick setup. They're in the back of Brad's van watching a television as he's trying to make time with a lady friend. And a new show has just started. Brad sighed as a dark shadow clouded his features. I didn't need to hear about it. I was there. You're that Tinker. Sasha stared into his handsome face. He looked to be mid-20s, despite his 33 years. Sasha put her arms around him and held tight, whispering, "Thank you." A theme song started to play on the television. Tinkers can, oh tinkers can, wandering the roads, a lethal shot, a healing hand, an engineer that roams, light the way the tinkers can in a darksome land, restore us to our squandered past, yes the tinkers can. Tinkers can, oh tinkers can, wandering the roads, a lethal shot, a healing hand, an engineer that roams. With sun and wind and wave you stand, first dawn and a dark night, healer to our wounded earth, our mother set to rights. Tinkers can, oh tinkers can, wandering the roads, a lethal shot, a healing hand, an engineer that roams. First glimmer of fair precious hope in a land trapped in despair. Clean waters from the poisoned streams brings the tinkers fair. Tinkers can, oh tinkers can, wandering the roads, a lethal shot, a healing hand, an engineer that roams. Face the horrors of yesteryear and wrestle them to ground, fearless against the toxic filth our ancestors did found. Sasha released her grip until she could look Brad in the eye. You know, if you want to talk. No. I'm sorry, Sasha, I don't. All the talking in the world won't bring back the dead. Way I heard it, it would have been a lot worse without you. Brad nodded. Would have been a lot better if Nova Gaia had stepped up and given me proper support from the get-go. Too many people died waiting for me to find a cure. Never trust a government, bright lands or dark lands. And okay. Oh, please. Basically, they have a television program that, like the old Dragnet series, takes the records of what happens with the Tinkers and dramatizes them. And that's what they've just come into, and it's a harken back to Tinker's Plague, the first book in the series.
Excellent performance. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Tolkien
Tone deaf and can't sing, but
yeah. Well, that's good because I do a dance for mine, so it blends in well.
Okay, well, Gary, show us then.
Oh gosh, no, don't put me on the spot. No, so I'll just read this. So I will knees tired from the bike ride. Anyway. Recently, I've been feeling detached from my work until I feel like I'm leaving my body and watching myself from above. When I was a young child, I grew bored when I had nothing to do. Now that I've turned 15, I get bored when what I do has no purpose. How many times did I march out with 50 other cadets to landscape Paradise's 400 acres of rolling green hills? I sat on the warm grass under the cloudless sun as I pulled out weeds and threw out any fallen leaves from the palm trees as I beautified every inch of land all the way up to the 20-foot metal fence that separated Paradise from the 2-lane highway. I remember when I was 6, I was told to scavenge for weeds. I thought it was a game. Then every weekday for the next 9 years, it had become part of a normal routine. I hadn't thought about the greater meaning behind it for a long time. Now I wonder, who is this for? My first suspicion was that it was for us travelers. We were creating a perfect place here on Earth, while whatever was beyond was disorder. I thought we were making this place beautiful so that the Lost would join us. Then I remembered that no Lost ever tried to get in, while I'd seen many cadets try to get out. Today was one of those days. I imagine he thought he wouldn't be seen as he was climbing a part of the fence that was obscured by a squat office building. Even if no one had seen him, it was impossible not to hear the chain link rattle on a windless day. Heads turned one by one as the cadets watched the man climb. It was hard to tell us apart from afar, as we all wore white shirts and light green slacks. It was a while before I recognized the middle-aged man as Silas, a man who had curiously never achieved a rank in his decades of living on the compound. It was shocking seeing him scale the fence as rapidly as he did. He was old, bent over from decades of field work, and every time I had seen him, he was slow and morose. Now he climbed with animalistic fervor until he reached the half-foot-long spikes that lined the fence's rim. He reached behind him to the shears sticking out of his shirt. I turned and looked at the cadets around me. Nearly everyone had returned to their work, with only a few children watching. I turned and pretended to pluck at a weed just as 6 officers ran out. From the corner of my eye, I watched as Silas tried to use the shears to cut off the blades in front of him so he could descend to the other side. I heard the clack of metal on metal and knew it was hopeless. One of the officers took out a taser and hit him square in the back. Silas stiffened and fell with a loud thud. Without pausing to see if he was still breathing, 4 of the officers lifted him up and took him away towards the clinic, and I knew, living or dead, I would never see him again.
Thank you. I absolutely love the variety of the stories that I got from each of you in this anthology. Am I muted? No.
No, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's just such a wonderful range of stories. We had, lighthearted, we had heavy, we had dystopian like yours, hard sci-fi like Stevens, space opera like Simon's, and also Dale's, who couldn't be here tonight. It was just a wonderful collection of stories, and I want to thank each of you again for sharing that work with me. And it looks like somebody's come to say hi with Erynn.
Nibby.
So cute.
Nebula. She's here. Oh, she does not want to be
there she
held
goes.
right now. She does not want to be held right now.
Of
She
course
wants
not.
to sit on top of my bag next to me, actually, is probably what she wants to do.
Kids and cats, they love to make liars out of you.
Yeah, no. She's investigating some various things that are sitting around on the couch. I have a bad habit of just putting stuff on the couch next to me that I'm going to use, books.
I just wanted to say, actually, I love the theme that you set for it of no chosen ones, no superhero types,
Thank you.
just people doing the right thing.
Thank you. And the funny thing was, I didn't even choose that theme. It was just kind of how all the stories ended up. And I love exploring that in fiction myself, both in writing and in reading. And everybody did a wonderful job showing the everyday people, learning to be the heroes, really. And I also want to pass on, we have a comment in the chat, Stephen, from Islanders Caper, who said that was a great song.
Oh, thank you. Feel free to steal it.
With attribution.
Taylor Swift is going to cover it.